Okay. So I'm going to need somebody to make a motion.
I make a motion. This is Pat. I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Okay.
This is Bob. I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Pat.
Aye. Chad?
All right. Stephen?
Aye.
Okay. And myself, Shelley, aye. All right. So we have the superintendent report.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and just cover a couple things. Some of this you're aware of, but I just want to touch bases because it's been 3 weeks since we've come back from spring break, and there's a lot happening in the district. All of it, or I'll say 99% of it, is actually very positive. A lot of people doing a lot of hard work to get us up and running, or to help our community out, or to help our kids out. And so with the remote learning up and running, just so you know, the CIA department has developed 17 classes for staff, which represents about 80 hours of support. I know it's a difficult transition, but the teachers have been amazing as they have attempted to get everything up and running, working with kids, working with families. The same with our administrators, the principals, trying to get everything up and running. We are seeing very many positive comments from people about what we have. We do have a degree of frustration, but overall, we're seeing very positive comments about our efforts, what we're presenting, and how we're presenting it. And so that's a positive. I also just want to let you know that as a cabinet, we meet twice a week, and the leadership team meets weekly. And we are discussing any number of issues on two fronts, either with the closure itself or with how do we get ready for next year. And I tell you all that because as issues arise, we will make adjustments as necessary. I mean, this is new for us too. And so there are any number of conversations. People point out some stuff to us that's well thought out. We have a discussion, and then we'll push out information as appropriate with any changes to anything we put out. So I hope for all of us, we realize this is a learning experience, and we will make the adjustments we need to make to get it right in the best possible manner that we can. We do want to continue those activities that we can. And so the student government at CHS wanted to go ahead and organize the Spirit Week next week. All the sites jumped on board with the concept. So you'll start to see some advertising from Kayla on Thursday and Friday. And then next week, all schools will be participating. They'll be sending in photos, and we'll somehow make sure those photos or some of the photos get posted. Monday is Lazy Monday, posting a picture in your most comfortable quarantine wardrobe. Tuesday, I know there's some principals that want to do this, but some of us aren't very good at it. We'll have TikTok Tuesday for those you want to do a TikTok video. Wednesday will be Whittle Wednesday. Okay, I'm showing my age. I'm not sure what a whittle pet is, but the wackier the better. Thursday will be Thankful Thursday to show gratitude to everybody that's helping out in a crisis. And then Friday is Formal Friday, putting on your Ritz and showing you all dressed up. And so that's some of the things we'll continue to try to do over the next six weeks or so, just to keep a degree of normalcy to the best of our ability, kind of very similar to the parades that the different staffs did in the neighborhoods for the kids a couple weeks ago. Food service continues to do amazing stuff. And as of today, we have basically, what is that, about a 3.5 week total, where we served just short of 20,000 meals in that 3.5 weeks. By the end of this week, we will definitely be exceeding 20,000 meals. We're getting conflicting reports from the feds. So we were feeding on Saturday, and then we got something from the feds that said we can't do that. So we stopped, not just us, but across the state. Then yesterday, late afternoon, they turned around and reversed themselves and said, yes, you can do it. So we'll go ahead and feed again starting this weekend. And that'll bump up the numbers, and I would anticipate these numbers continuing, quite frankly, probably through the summer, especially if we get a recession and there's not as many jobs out there. Technology standpoint, handing out computers to kids. We have had two handouts. The first one was we distributed 140 computers to families and kids. The second one, which was earlier this week, we did another 176 for a total of 316. And we plan to put out another push on tomorrow, and we'll open it up Monday. Mondays, I believe, will be 5 to 7. So we're trying to vary the times to go ahead and meet the needs of our community. And we hope to make sure that all kids that need computers or families that need them will get them. Just so you know, the individuals that we're handing them out to are those that initially indicated they didn't have a computer. That was the first go around. The second go around was a continuation of those who didn't indicated they didn't have one. But we also expanded it to those families that may have had more children, multiple children in the house, but only one computer. Our criteria was if you had 2 or fewer children, we were only going to give 1 computer. If you had 3 or 4 children in the house, we'd give you a second computer. If you had more than 5 children in the house, we'd give you a third computer. We're taking IDs and taking pictures of IDs matched to the computer so that we can get them back when this is all said and done. From a marketing standpoint, I did share with you this, but I wanted to get it on the record. We've distributed 29 different communication pieces to family, staff, and different groups. We've established a COVID-19 webpage that second to our homepage has garnered 2,700 views. Our homepage has had about 3,800. When we send out our communications with School Messenger and PeachShare databases, we're sending them out to over 7,000 contacts, and our open rates, the people that are opening the messages, is the highest we've ever seen. Our reach on Facebook has exceeded 60,000 people in the last 28 days, an increase of 864%. And our Twitter impressions for the same time are at 41,500. So overall, doing fantastic there. Human resource continues to move forward. So principals have been doing interviews through Google Hangouts or Zoom. And so we're moving forward with the hiring process, and we'll continue to do so. So we continue to work hard to not only help figure out what's going on with the remote learning, but also prepare ourselves for next year. And I will be coming to you with, had a meeting today about some of the construction stuff we talked about between the energy savings project and the CTA project. And we're making some headway on that. You'll see a bunch of things coming forward at the next board meeting. That's all I have.
Okay, any board members have anything?
No. No.
No.
No.
Perfect. So I have a public comments. Mary Lou?
Madam President, I just checked our Google Drive as well as emails, and I do not have any public comments to report.
All right, thank you. Next is our consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions on the consent agenda?
The personnel one, that's part of the consent agenda, right?
Yes,
Yes.
correct.
Just curious. So those new hires that will start in July, are those new hires because we have people leaving, or because those are new spots that are going to be that we anticipate needing in addition to everybody who's here at the high school in particular? I think I was thinking about.
Okay, those are spots of people that are leaving. Dr. Duplessis, I don't know if you're there, and if you can jump in. If you're not there, it tends to be more than anything else those people that are leaving us.
Madam President, board members, and Superintendent Wyman, that is correct. Those are the majority of those are folks that are leaving us, and we are replacing them. As you see there, there's a large chunk of the high school. They worked very quickly in moving forward with hires, and middle school is behind them, and then the elementary schools are doing their work right now, and so we're moving forward.
So, Dr. Duplessis, but there wasn't any resignations on this particular list. So are these just people we know aren't coming back, or they're not actually resigning, or they just told us verbally?
At the last board meeting, we had the large group of resignations, and so a lot of these are the follow-ups to them.
Okay. Sorry, I should have seen that one. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other questions?
So I guess along personnel again, just out of curiosity. So has it been difficult to find teachers who are looking for jobs? I mean, under this new environment, has it? I mean, obviously, we're hiring people, and I know the principals. I've overheard that they're doing interviews and stuff. So, are people still actively trying to? Are they coming to us? Or I mean, did we go to any job fairs before the shutdown? Just curious.
Yes, sir. We have gone to 14 job fairs this year. And at the beginning of the year, when we do the job fairs, we're pushing everybody towards our district's job fair, but we're also making things known to people, that positions that may be coming up. So we've attended a lot up until the spring break, and even during spring break, I was at an event in Tucson. So we've done a great job this year doing that. But more importantly, our principals have done a great job moving forward with their interviews across the board. Even with our doing these electronically currently, we switched very quickly to that, which was very natural for us. And because we've done those in the past with people from out of state. So we moved quickly. From my perspective, we are in a good place right now with hires. The majority of the most difficult hires have taken place at this point. And now we're filling in the gaps a little bit, and we'll continue to do that.
Wonderful. Thank you. That was my only question. Shelley?
Okay. So, is there anybody else that has any more questions?
Nope.
All right.
No.
So I'll need a motion.
This is Pat. I make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
This is Chad. I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Okay. Let's go down to 8.1, discussion and consideration of approval employee medical insurance plan for 20 to 21.
Okay, and I'll ask Carla to go ahead and make the presentation. So Carla, I'll turn it over to you.
Madam President, members of the board, in late February, the Smith Medical Insurance Consortium that we're a part of, we voted to accept the quote from Blue Cross Blue Shield. All plans will not have a rate increase for 2021. I was really pleased to hear that because I know a lot of my colleagues are seeing rate increases this year. With that being said, the district will offer and pay 100% of the Alliance Silver plan to all our 30-hour or more of service employees. The Alliance plans are part of the Banner Health in-network plans. This is our third year that we've been part of the Alliance. And then as I said, we're recommending 30 hours or more of will pay for the silver plan, but we also provide the option for all of our individuals to buy up to the Alliance Gold value, the Classic Gold plans. We did see slight increases in our voluntary plans. Basic Life that we provide to all of our employees, we did see a 19% increase, mainly due to the experience in the smaller group size of our trust. It's the first after 3 years guaranteed from our 2017 RFP proposal. Also, we have voluntary plans for our 30-hour or more employees. We'll see a rate increase. Delta Dental will increase 7%. Delta Vision will increase 3.5%. Our short-term disability will go up 10%. And then again, this is a result of we've had a 3-year guarantee. We're in our 4th year from when we had our proposals, but I am recommending that we approve the employee medical insurance plans and rates for 2021. Are there any questions?
I had a question, Carla.
Okay, sure.
I guess this is more of a question for, I guess, the board too. And Shelley, you probably know. I just curious. When was the last time we established how much, as a district, we wanted to pay towards the
Employees.
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't think I think maybe even back when we were in the recession, we thought about it, but it just happened to be a benefit that we could continue to still offer to our employees. I know a lot of districts have gotten to the point where either the plans are not as good, they're more the health savings plans, or they made their employees pay portions of it. So in an era where we haven't been able to give the significant raises as some of our colleagues have in other districts, at this point in time, we felt that it was important to at least be able to offer a plan to our employees at 100%.
Yeah, Chad, I think that is what, before you and Stephen came along, that is what we had decided, that we still wanted to offer that as long as we possibly could.
And
Yeah,
just a reminder, board members, this is Greg Wyman, to announce yourself so that so Mary Lou knows who's talking and everybody on the call knows who's talking.
Okay. This is Chad. So I guess my question was, so the 479 that pays for that Alliance Silver plan is, since that was just one of the plans and we decided we'd pay for at least one of the plans, that's where the 479 or whatever it is came from. So have we considered, I mean, is that up from year to year, whether we want to put more towards each employee per plan, or, I mean, like, because that 479 was how much we're willing to contribute, and then people can pay the difference if they want a better plan, right?
That's correct.
So that 479 per employee, is that just because that's what the Silver Alliance plan was, and so that was what the amount was, or?
Yeah, the Silver Alliance plan is 479 per month per employee, and at a time when we've changed plans, we've gone to shifted the PPOs and stuff and gone to a plan that was affordable for our district at the time, and have continued to offer what we felt was affordable for the district. We can always look at it from year to year, but as Shelley pointed out before you even had come on the board, the board pretty much wanted to be able to offer something to their employees.
Yeah, no, I'm all for that. I guess I was just saying, would it be something for us to consider whether that amount was even more than 479?
This is Greg Wyman. I think the issue that comes up within these issues, I mean, you can put as much as you want to towards the payment of insurance. So you could go and we could pay for the gold or any of the other, the value gold, the classic gold, the Alliance gold. The issue is the more you put in there, then the less is going to be available for any potential employee increases for salary. And so I think it becomes just a conversation on a decision to say, how do we address all the different issues that school districts are facing? And so if we're trying to remain competitive with neighboring districts, the focus comes on to salaries. With the governor's proposal of 20 by 20 plan, then you have to take that into consideration first. That 20 by 20 was factored off of 16, 17 statewide salaries. So even though it's perceived to be a 5% increase to every school district, it's actually more like a 3.5% increase, because the numbers that they're using to determine the increase is from 16, 17. And so if you decide to go with one of the 3 gold packages, not a problem, but you may find yourself with not enough money to go ahead and tackle the other issues related to a salary. And so I think over time, and obviously haven't been here, but I know in my experience, that's what the debate comes down to, is how can you provide the best you can for the employees and insurance while still tackling the issue of giving pay raises. And I think that's kind of where we're at, where there's probably been more consideration for lots of different reasons in the pay end versus trying to bump up from the Alliance Silver to the Alliance Gold or something like that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, this is Shelley. Any other questions?
No.
Okay, so let's go ahead and make a motion on that. Anyone?
This is Pat. I make a motion to approve. I don't have my paperwork in front of me.
Okay,
Healthcare plan as it.
Madam President, I can read the motion if you'd like.
sure.
Okay, so my understanding is Pat Pinkert is making a motion to approve the employee medical insurance plan and rates for 2020, 2021.
Yes, that's right.
And this is Bob. I'll second.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and, Stephen,
Aye.
Chad,
Aye.
I myself is an aye, so motion carries 5-0. So we'll go ahead and, 8.2, discussion and consideration of approved estimate and access capacity, for open enrollment acceptance for 2021.
Yes, this is Greg Wyman. State statute governing board policy provides the framework for open enrollment for the district. Probably what's a little bit different, and there's a variety of criteria for what you set your enrollment at. Probably a little bit different than what you've seen in the past. Over my career, you actually look at your open enrollment capacities 3 different ways. And I'll show you the 3 different ways, and I'll talk about 2 particular points that come into play. So the first one could be the size of the school. And if a school is overcrowded, you would not have to accept students at that school. These numbers that are on the sheet here are numbers that are taken strictly from the SFB. Then the one that most people are used to seeing is the grade level ratios. The biggest thing that people need to understand that even though you will establish these ratios, if you get above the ratio, you do not have to accept somebody from outside the district. They would be placed on a waiting list. If you have more kids within the boundaries of that school and your ratio for 4th grade is currently, let's just say 1 to 30, but those kids are all coming from inside the district, then you don't necessarily automatically put a new teacher in because you exceeded the capacity. The only thing that would do is if you exceeded that capacity is you would go ahead and be able to stop anybody coming from outside the district that wanted to join us. Then we also put the teacher to student caseloads for special programs. So you may have a school that is undersized in the SFB calculation, undersized in the grade level, but we have a higher ratio than you guys approve in a program. And so the individual student who was trying to come in would not be allowed into the district. Ironically, they could turn around and ask for an open enrollment in another school in the district. And if we were below the case loads, then they would be entitled to come into the district for that particular school. So by having three numbers gives us the most flexibility to accept students or potentially not accept students. It just depends on what the situation is. So I would recommend approval of these case loads, or excuse me, of these numbers for open enrollment as presented.
Dr. Wyman, this is Bob. And I have a question on the numbers by the SFB calculations. So
Yeah.
so if you add up the numbers, you get around 7,000, give or take. So is that the SFB is saying we have the capacity for 7,000 students when currently we're at 4,500?
Yes. Now, a couple things with that. In some cases, when you look, especially at the high school and the middle school, they look at all usable space. And so they look at cafeteria space, they look at gym space, they look at those kind of things. So in some cases, the numbers can be a little bit inflated. These ones look to be pretty close to what my understanding that the schools were built for. Maybe a little bit overstated, but not significantly. I've been in other districts where they were significantly overstated for how many kids could be there. But yes, technically, we would be at capacity with 7,000 kids. The one thing you do have to understand is if there was a growth of middle school students for some reason, and the middle school was above the 1169, you in fact may have to move with the middle school situation and look to potentially build, even though you may have capacity at the high school or capacity at your elementaries. So the elementaries are collectively put together by the SFB. So if you had 3 schools that were undersized and one that was at capacity, it would not necessarily go for a new school. They would turn around and tell you to shift your boundaries to distribute your kids differently.
Okay. This is Shelley. Any other questions?
No.
No.
All right, so let's make a motion.
So
All right,
this-
I move to approve the estimate excess capacity for open enrollment acceptance for 2021 as presented.
That was Stephen. Okay.
Yes.
This is Chad. I had second.
All right, Bob, Pat,
Aye.
I myself, aye, so motion carries 5-0. So 8.3, discussion and consideration of evaluation of professional staff members.
Okay, so we're in a situation right now. This agenda item is trying to give us maximum flexibility. We're in the process right now of taking a look at where we're at with our evaluations of our certified staff. State statute requires 2 formal observations. Those 2 formal observations and any informal observations will collectively put together for one final summative evaluation. So 2 observations, 1 final evaluation. The situation you have right now is across the district, we may have some individuals that have received both formal observations and the final evaluation. You may have situations where individuals have had both formal observations, but we haven't got around to the final. And then situations where maybe they've only had 1 formal and they were going to have the second formal coming out of spring break. The issue that comes into play with this is evaluations of certified staff are covered under state statute. There was no conversation in the school closure law or school closure bill that was passed and the governor signed that spoke to what's going to take place with evaluations. This is not a situation where necessarily the board or the state board can do something because it's state statute. So what we're looking at to try to solve the problem is on the initial phase, I'm going to start from the best situation. If a number of people have 2 observations and a final evaluation, no problem. They're done with, we don't have to worry about them. If they've had 2 formal observations, but the principal just hasn't had a chance to have the final meeting and make it summative, again, really not an issue. It's just a matter of scheduling time with that individual to take the 2 formals and put them into the final observation. So then we get down to those individuals that have only had 1 evaluation. And in current policy, and I'll open up in a second and scroll down to where it is, but in current policy, GCO, actually, I'll just read it. It's right here. The policy GCO specifically has language regarding the 2 formal observations. And it states the governing board may waive the requirement of a second classroom observation for a continuing teacher whose performance based on the first classroom observation places the teacher in one of the 2 highest performance classifications for the current year, unless the teacher requests a second observation. So if in the course of the first observation, the principals are saying that teacher is either at the effective level or the highly effective level, you would not have to do a second observation if you guys approve this agenda item. And that first observation would utilize the ratings on that observation for the final summative evaluation. Now, for those that have only had 1 observation and they're in the developing stage, we're still having conversations with our attorney, as are most districts, to figure out how do we deal with those individuals because of state statute and what state statute requires. And there's some interpretations out there that the language in statute relative to what constitutes a formal observation would more than likely not apply in the given situation where teachers are doing online instruction. And so there's lots of conversations taking place. I just wanted to at least put us in a position that we could hopefully clean up as many as possible And then we'll take those that don't quite get cleaned up, and we'll still work on it. And I'll have to come back to you with what the plan is. So I would recommend approval with this language, because it does position ourselves to at least complete the evaluations, and that becomes critical because the evaluations, beyond just being indication of how a teacher is doing in the classroom, it also constitutes 33% of the Proposition 301 dollars. And so obviously what we try to do is give those 301 dollars out by the end of the year, meaning June. And so we have to finish up the evaluations to see where people are in order to calculate the dollars that they would receive in June as part of the performance pay plan, the Proposition 301 performance pay plan. So there's a couple pieces that are really important within this evaluation, and that's why I'm bringing this forward. So more than happy to answer questions, but I would also recommend approval of the motion.
Dr. Wyman, this is Bob. I have a question. For employees who have only had one classroom observation, and they are not in the 1 or 2 highest performance areas on that one, you said you're working on something with the attorneys about that. Do we know what percentage of our teachers fall into that category?
No, we're collecting that data as we speak. We've been working on it for the last couple of days, and I hope to have it by next Monday or Tuesday. And then we'll sit down and see just exactly where we stand. I'd hate to give you a guess because I just haven't been here long enough to understand where we are with our evaluations.
Okay.
I would assume it's not very high, but that's just usually the teachers who fall in that category, as Greg's mentioned it, are going to be the teachers who usually save your second evaluation for teachers who've been doing a good job, so they're usually the last ones you worry about. So I think it's a good idea, Dr. Wyman.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? This is Shelley.
No
All right,
question.
so we're gonna need a motion.
Okay, can we scroll down so we can see the language?
Can you do what?
I've
There's
got
the
it.
motion.
Okay, so this is Bob. I'd like to move to waive the requirement of a second classroom observation for continuing teachers whose teaching performance based on the first classroom observation places the teacher in one of the 2 highest performance classifications unless the teacher requests a second observation.
Okay, I'll need a second.
This is Stephen. I second.
Okay. Pat,
Aye.
Chad,
Aye.
this is Shelley, myself, aye, so motion carries 5-0. All right, so 8.4, discussion and consideration of reevaluate a solution regarding employee pay during a school closure.
This was just brought up because Stephen had asked us to bring it back at each of the next couple board meetings to I guess have follow up and see where we're at on it. So that's why it's here. I don't have a change. I think overall we're doing fine. I think relative to our budgets, probably the one thing that we're starting to realize is because at this point the school year is over, now that the governor and Superintendent Hoffman have made the decision to close for the school year, but the school closure bill has not indicated that there will be school beyond the current school year. So there's no authority to say you're going to go ahead and run school through June. And the only people that would have that authority would be the legislature if they were to come back into session, which is at this point, I believe, highly doubtful. And so therefore we will receive the funding from the state for the year, and the budget supports the positions that we have in the district. And so there shouldn't be a budgetary issue. The one thing I would say, just so you're aware, as part of the whole remote online learning authority that was granted under the school closure bills, each district has to put in an attestation to indicate what they're doing relative to teaching kids in order to get the funding. I submitted that attestation today. And so based on everything I'm understanding, I think we're in very good shape. So I'm not worried about the money issue at all. The other piece that's starting to come up there will be some savings associated with the district. Since we are effectively closed for the final quarter, you're not running your buses. You don't have your schools cooling and heating at the same capacity they would be if they were full of kids. You're just not doing a lot of different things. And so there will be any number of savings that that come forward from us. For example, the amount of gas we don't have to put in our buses because we're not running buses every day. And so we don't know what that final calculation is, but should there be some nuance where we need to come up with some money for something, this is going to provide us with a safety net to get through the year. So I don't believe there should be any reason for us not to be able to handle this resolution and continue to pay people for doing the work.
Okay, this is Shelley. Any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. I think we should just continue to, look at it. Because, when we had originally passed this, the governor had not said that, hey, yes, we will continue to fund schools. So we are in a different place now than we were even when we passed it. But I just think we need to continue to bring it back just because things continue to change so quickly.
I will go ahead and do that. This is discussion and consideration to reevaluate, so there really is no necessity to provide a motion.
I know it's not a big deal, and but on that in the fourth paragraph, there's just it almost looks like the word school is missing from. It's silly, but in that fourth paragraph it says community to comply with Governor Ducey's closure of public and to carry out the actions listed below. Did you mean to say public schools?
It should read public education, so we will make sure that that's in there.
Sorry, it's silly. That was silly. It's just when I read it, I was like, it seemed like there was a word missing.
Nope, understand.
Okay. All right, so we do not need a motion on that then. And so we're going to go down to 9.1, information and discussion items. There's none. 10.1, request for future agenda items. Does anybody have any future agenda items? Okay.
Not at this time.
I'm going to take that as a no. So, this is Shelley, and I'm going to motion for adjournment.
This is Stephen. I second.
Pat?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Bob? Okay, motion carries 5-0 at 6:41.
So noted, Madam President.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for everything you're doing, guys. Appreciate y'all.